to Shirley from Innergetics. How are you doing today, Shirley?
Real good. Glad to be here.
Please tell us about Innergetics. Tell us what you guys do, kind of like an elevator 60-second pitch. What are you guys all about?
Sure. It's basically recapturing the forgotten joy of eating and your ability to really love living in your own body without storage, which is my term for fat. It is a permanent solution to all eating and weight issues without drugs. When we had our first child, it solidified my understanding of eating boundaries because when my daughter was born, she knew when she was hungry. She didn't care how much nutrition she had. She wanted to stop eating. I thought, well, how does she know that? So I thought, this is interesting. And I finally realized we were born with our own eating boundary. We were born with over 10,000 taste buds. And where is all this information? Where is all this start and stop and the information of what's good for us, how we feel? It's all within our gut brain. And unbeknownst to me, when I talked about that angst, it was in my gut brain. So I started working with the gut brain over 50 years ago. And now it's kind of the cutting edge because they're finally learning, oh, there's information in this gut brain. And some people might call it women's intuition. I just had a feeling. And I published my book in 1991, and the foreword was written by a doctor from the Mayo Clinic. I talked about how to get there, eating boundaries. But I only had a few tools in there. And what I realized as I worked with people, I kept developing tools. So then by 1994, I started Energetics, and that was the start of the whole idea of guiding a person back to their own eating boundaries. The online courses didn't start until later, but and when that happened, I thought, oh my word, I could put this online. I didn't know the technical stuff. I mean, my word, I was born a long time ago. We didn't have all that technical jargon going on. And so I needed help to set this whole program online so that I could have my basic stuff. Because I have a basic foundation for the process. But then I end up working really in detail one-on-one. And at that time when I first started, because this didn't start till about 4 or 5 years ago. I haven't had the online that long. But that was key and that was pivotal because until I had that online, I could only work one-on-one. The chefs love my course because people actually are really tasting their food, but they're not miserable when they stop.
You talked about the hunger scale, right?
Uh-huh.
That's really social media to some points, right? Like it's something, again, you got somebody who's very charismatic,
Mhm.
who's an authority, and then you have a simple concepts,
Yep.
right? Like you even
Very
said it
simple.
yourself. It's extremely simple.
Yep.
Have you encapsulated that into your social media or marketing message by chance? Especially social media, or do you not? Just kind of
No.
curious what's your
Yep.
positioning there.
I do, and that's why I've decided to come on more and more podcasts so that people even
Yeah,
know that I exist, that I'm out there,
absolutely.
and people, I get so excited about it, and they know that there's nothing I don't understand with this. I've been doing this over 50 years. I know this stuff inside and out. I sat at the level of my gut brain way back in the early 70s, and it was, like I said, it wasn't recognized by the medical community until the late 90s. So I've been working with the gut brain and the eating boundaries and developing tools for people to access it. I do little blurbs on social media and talk, and my social media person says, just throw me some more.
Absolutely. No.
Because it's not difficult for me to do that.
Well, you have a lot of AI slop out there. You have a lot of influencers who are false prophets. You have a lot of people who are faking it, and I think it's awesome to see somebody who's real, because that's one thing. I have a podcast, right?
Mhm.
And in my podcast, an audio podcast, audio only. It has nothing to do
Mm,
with some
mhm.
YouTube stuff is absorbed there, but I would say I podcast probably about every 3 or 4 days, if not sooner. I have a metric where, like, if it hits a certain number, it automatically go. Like, I have a script ready to go, and I go. And I do
Uh-huh.
this audio podcast. I've found out is it's a very real message, right? And that's just me
Mhm.
talking. And I think the what you're doing is a very real thing, because
Mhm.
when I look at other YouTube channels or I look at other podcasts, they're AI. They're not even
Mhm.
like they're just literally fake conversations. And
Oh,
that's
wow.
something that, yeah, it's Google Gemini, actually, it does that. And so, and it's voice to text, text to voice, sorry, other way around, text to voice. And you're able to do these fake podcasts. This vertical, both yours and mine, is full of people who just like come in. I'm just gonna just make, whatever, some content and just like throw it out there, see what sticks. What I love about your stuff is like you did it like the completely opposite way, which is the OG way, right? It's like
Mhm.
you established yourself with an amazing book. You've been doing this for 15 years before that, and
50,
then
15 years before
50.
my book. Yes.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay. And then I was, didn't want to add too many years. And so then you took that to digital, right? Which I
Mhm.
love. So we talked about the online course, right? How are you growing that business, and how are you bringing this amazing
Mhm.
voice, an amazing experience, and all this domain authority to that and growing that piece of business?
Through word of mouth and through now some of the Instagram. Now it's starting, but word of mouth is now spreading more because I can have the online course. So it's basically, it truly is word of mouth. But when you say real, when I published my book, I just thought about this because those are real people. I thought my publishing company was going to go nuts because had to get an okay from everybody that was named in that book because they were all real people. I eat how I say I eat. I eat whatever I want when I'm hungry that feels good to me. And some people might see me eat a salad and go, "That's why you're so thin." I said, "Well, no, it's just this time you saw me eat a salad." Sometimes they may see me eat banana cream pie and they go, "You just have a high metabolism." I said, "No, just this time you saw me eat a banana cream pie." Sometimes I eat a larger quantity. Sometimes I'm not that hungry, so I don't eat very much. There's always a comment. And I said, no, I just listen to my body. When I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm no longer hungry, I stop. I choose exactly what I want to eat. So I'm very satisfied. And it's why those French restaurants, they love me because the small quantities
Exactly.
what people, that's more enjoyable. In fact, it was interesting. I had a client who wanted me to meet her. I guess it was her stepfather, and we went out to lunch. And he had ordered like a cup of soup and maybe a half a sandwich. I don't know what it was. And they brought him a bowl of soup, and he said, "No, I ordered a cup." And they said, "Oh, that's okay. We won't charge you for that." He said, "No, that doesn't even look appealing to me." And I went, "That's exactly it. It
Mm.
doesn't. When you large quantities, like, oh my word, it's like my stomach would hurt, and I don't want it to hurt. I want it to feel good. I don't want to have different clothes sizes. And it just feels good to be within my own body, within my own eating boundaries."
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's like programming in the restaurant system in the United States is the bigger plate, the bigger the better, and
Mhm.
if it's not big enough, it's
Yeah.
like a little almost insulting. Whereas I think, like you said, in certain cultures, right? You named
Mhm.
French, that less is more. It's
Mhm.
not really the size, it's the value and
Yes.
the amazing
Taste.
quality. Yeah,
Taste and the quality, my word, and
yeah,
now they're seeing that with Ozempic, they are serving they call it an Ozempic size,
yeah,
whatever it is,
right.
I don't know, but I can't imagine. I mean, that's what's sad, that's why I thought, "Okay, I do have to get out there." People are desperate. Now they're drugging all this information, and I just go, "Ugh," eventually and now they have to be on drugs the rest of their life, or that weight's gonna come back, and it's gonna come
Yeah,
back more furious. So
yeah.
it just makes me really sad because I really understand this to the bone.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. I would also say, one thing I'll mention too is, and this is something I'm doing too with my audience. Take of it with what you will, is doing a lot of live stuff, like
Mhm.
Instagram lives, YouTube lives. That, and again, it goes back because AI can't do live, right? At this point in
Mhm.
time,
Right.
that's probably one of the ways I heard a lot of content. Like I can chop this up. I wish I was a social media person. I would chop all this up into amazing. I mean, you're just an amazing speaker on it. Is a whole YouTube live where you interact with a lot of your audiences, and they just throw questions at you
Yeah, I
all day
love
long.
questions.
Yeah. So I would definitely challenge you, please, or your media person, to come up with do more YouTube lives.
Mhm.
That's one thing, but you can't fake that, right? Like when I do a YouTube live, and I did one. I thought I did another one, but it was actually a recording, and I posted it. I posted
Mhm.
two of them just to see how they would go, and they were a live environment just with those audiences, right? I think we had about 15 people show up, and it wasn't a YouTube live, so I'm kind of cheating here, but I have to say, you cannot bullshit your way through that. Like,
Mm,
if your community has these real questions for
mhm,
you and you are like stumped and you're just like, and it's fine to say, oh, I have to study this, I have to go back to you.
yeah,
But I think there's something said for experts. And I think the world, both in all of our verticals, yours and mine, there's, I would almost say, like I said, like a lot of false prophets, a lot of
mhm,
people who are
mhm,
saying they're experts when they're
yeah,
not experts,
not no,
or they're an expert in something else, and they, just because they're in that, they think they're an
yeah,
expert in marketing or dieting or
yeah,
nutrition, when it's like, no, man, that's something else. Like,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
so definitely. Cool. Well, thank you, Shirley,
yeah.
for joining
Yo,
us.
yo.